of this. It is the last of this edition of the seminar series on AI and value creation, which is organized by the AIM Research Center on Artificial Intelligence and Value Creation. And we are at the third edition, so you can find, for those interested or those interested in maybe for the classes, for the pedagogy, to use the contribution that all our speakers have shared. You can find on the website the recording, and also this seminar, thanks to the presenter today, will be recorded. I have a big honor and pleasure to introduce the speaker today and thank them because it was their proposition. Thanks for sharing your interesting study that you are developing. And the goal of this seminar is really for Francesco, Unai, and Tatiana, our speaker, to share the work in progress because they are very close to the submission for this paper. And it is very important to discuss and to give input also to them to improve the paper, maybe create synergies in some way with other people that are studying the same topic. And the topic today is orchestration and value creation in healthcare, innovation ecosystem, and analysis across multiple levels. And the speaker are Francesco Scarrone from University Partenope in Naples, and also John Professor, Francesco, correct me if I'm wrong, at EMLYON Business School.
Right, thank you.
We have Tatiana Kvatova, she's a professor at EMLYON Business School. And finally, Unai Arzubiaga, very pleased to have you with us, and is from University of Basque Country. And the few of them are studying how to consider artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence impact innovation ecosystems in healthcare. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing this study with all the participants. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margarita, for a very nice introduction, and thank you for organizing the seminar for us. I would like to start now to save our time and represent you the plan of our future presentation. So first, I will very shortly talk about us, but you have already did a very nice introduction, so I have practically nothing to add. The second part will be introduction and what provoked our research interests. And then we will do research review, formulate our research question based on the gaps we have discovered, and speak about our motivation and contribution methods, theoretical sample, data collection, data analysis, findings, and conclusion. And of course, I would like to repeat that this is work in progress. The work has come through the first revision, first reviewing session, and we are planning to submit the second revision in autumn. So for us, your opinion is very important, and any comments and suggestions are really, really welcome. So, Unai from Pays de Basque, apart from being Assistant to Strategy, Entrepreneurship, and Family Business, is chairing IFERI conference. And this is, I guess, that's the conference which is held now at the moment, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you are chairing it now these days in Santander in Spain. And Francesco, apart from being a professor in Napoli and EMLYON, is also director of a new laboratory called the VIMAS. That's the Research Lab in Healthcare Management Innovation. So this is it's new. It has opened recently, as far as I know. And I am a new professor in EMLYON. I joined only last year in September, and I'm very honored to be here at the EMLYON. Great. So what has provoked our research interest? First of all, we did a literature review, and we discovered knowledge gaps in the research about innovation processes in healthcare industry in general. So I have reviewed one paper recently, and people are trying to research more into innovation processes in healthcare, but normally there's no theoretical framework, and people want to write about many things at once, and it's not clear how to structure it and come to a certain model, a certain framework. In particular, there's almost no research about artificial intelligence in healthcare, so not that much. The research about B2B sector in healthcare is not abundant either. Generally, it's possible to see research B2C, so patient journey, patient relationship with hospitals and so on, but not so much about B2B. The general trend, the research about ecosystems is growing. The research about the attention to B2B scholars and practitioners about innovation ecosystems has increased over the last few decades. But still, research about innovation ecosystem in healthcare is very rare. And only a little research exists about orchestration mechanisms applied to innovation ecosystems in healthcare. Good. So I'm trying to reach the next slide. And now I manage. So the first notion of an ecosystem, as we know, was provided by James Moore in 1996, and he was writing about ecosystems as an economic community producing value for customers and supported by a foundation of interacting organizations and individuals, suppliers, lead producers, competitors, and other stakeholders. He didn't speak about innovation, but later the concept of ecosystem was developed towards innovation. And for example, Brice Dati, also a scientist from EMLYON, emphasized that innovation ecosystem is characterized by innovation-driven goals. Further, one of the latest research about innovation ecosystem belongs to Granstrand and Holgersson in 2020, and they conceptualized, they produced a new definition of innovation ecosystem as an evolving set of actors and activities and artifacts and the institutions and relations, including complementary and substitute relations that are important for the innovative performance of an actor for a population of actors. So in this article, which is very informative and very nice, they provided this graph for different participants of innovation ecosystems, and institutions are included. So institutional environment is included into the concept, which is very important for us, because for healthcare ecosystem, the influence of institution is huge. Okay, so these actors described in this mentioned paper, they are used to engage in complementary, cooperative, and substitute competitive activities, so CS relations. And these relations are very rich and they're very various. And these are inter-organizational relationships within innovation ecosystem. And it obliges industrial companies to develop specific capabilities in managing and orchestrating other actors, ecosystem activities, and artifacts. So, and innovation orchestration is considered to be crucial within the innovation networks. All right. Okay. Then we looked deeper into research about orchestration and orchestra models of what has been achieved by other researchers. And we have discovered that one of the first very informative paper about orchestration belongs to Zahran and Nambisan, that was made in 2012. They emphasized the dynamism of relationship among the actors in the business ecosystem, and they described and conceptualized 4 models of innovation ecosystems called Orchestra, Creative Bazaar, James Central, and Mode Station. So for the current research, for us, for our goal, the orchestra model is most valuable, because in this model, there is a key player, the keynote player, central player, and this key player orchestrates and shapes interactions among the members of a business ecosystem actors. And a key player, central player, provides a strong leadership, builds the ecosystem together, and also provides motivations for other players to develop together, to participate in further evolution. Okay. How technological change influences innovation ecosystems. So at the moment, ecosystems became more and more complex and sophisticated, and they are populated by increasing number of actors. These are public agencies, user associations. They contribute to different levels to this innovation process. Then the phenomenon which is reshaping B2B markets, that's the rise of Industry 4.0 technologies, such as artificial intelligence. So we are very close to connect our research of innovation ecosystem in healthcare, the influence of artificial intelligence, technological influences, the influence of new technological trends on orchestration mechanisms. So such a huge technological change and multiple levels usually found in innovation ecosystems are likely to make traditional orchestration mechanisms inadequate for governing CS relationship. And that actually provoked the key interest to start our research. So based on literature review, we formulated research question: how do orchestration mechanisms work for governing CS relations in AI-driven multi-level innovation ecosystem? So in this research question, we emphasize that we will discuss orchestration mechanisms. We will discuss the influence of AI on ecosystems, on innovation ecosystems. So all three parts of our research are present in the research question. So motivation and contribution shortly. There is a recent BCG review we have found, and they discuss the main sources of failure in business ecosystems, which makes our research really up to date. Referring to theory, the present study is going to contribute to this study by Granstranda 2020 by showing how industrial companies can orchestrate and manage CS relations in AI-based multi-layered context. The answer to our research question will help scholars and practitioners to manage and design better relationship between actors in the innovation ecosystem. So now I would like to give a word to Unai. Unai, are you ready? And Unai will speak about methods, and he will also describe how we collected the data, and he will describe our case study.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Could you hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you well. How about the others?
Okay. Okay. So our study relies on a single case study methodology, and we have been quite thorough in following the guidelines for case research in industrial marketing in this field. We have based our methodology in the principles of purposeful sampling, triangulation, respondent validation, and systematic procedures for data analysis through coding. So we feel that a single case study is perfect for us, since it's regarded as an ideal methodology for generating new insights and building new theories, because we are gonna see our case from a holistic point of view, and instead of using some quantitative methods that could give some other kind of insights. Go ahead, please. So since our research question is how based the question, we feel that the single case study is the perfect method for us, and moreover, since the knowledge in this topic is quite fragmented and is quite shallow, the theory says that single case study could be a very good method for trying to take the most insights from there. So based on the previous literature review and theoretical considerations, we regard the current status of research, and we certify that the knowledge in this aspect, in this field, is quite fragmentary. So a single case study could be considered as a good choice. But okay, not only this, we also used secondary data and multiple interviews in order to triangulate data. We should be quite careful with triangulating data to know that what we are receiving from the respondents is not biased or too biased. So we have also some other sources of information that is helping us. So our case is called Empatica, and we selected it on the basis of two main principles. One of them is theoretical sampling, and the other one is the access to data. So we have to balance both principles. Theoretical sampling is for sure perhaps the most important one. The theory says that, but also you cannot afford having a case which is perfect since the theoretical sampling point of view if you don't have a good access to data. So we managed to do both of them. So Empatica was chosen because it's expected to be particularly suitable. Why? For what purpose? For illuminating and extending the insights into the role that business-to-business marketing has when designing and implementing artificial intelligence in the healthcare sector. So we feel that this is an extreme case that offers insights for basic mechanism in the situation we are studying. It allows us isolating and recognizing the phenomena under investigation. So regarding the data collection, we conducted the interviews in a semi-structured manner, and this was quite an enriching way to do it, because we, apart from the questions we had prepared before, we were also provided with some insights that were not closely related to the questions we made, which made the interviews even more interesting. Each interview lasted between 30 minutes and 1 hour, and we had the chance to interview entrepreneurs, senior managers, and functional managers. So we had different perspectives, different lenses that offered us an holistic perspective to the case. All the interviews were audio taped and transcribed, for sure. And we have also additional secondary data that we obtained from the company websites, reports, press releases, and so on. So we analyzed the primary data that we collected through the interviews, as well as the archival data, and we did from different this was conducted by different researchers in order to avoid the bias of each researcher. So, and what about the coding? We do not have any specific coding software, because we feel that the interviews were not so huge number, and their length was not also very extensive. So we feel that doing that it could work. So okay, I also said that the data was independently analyzed by different members, and okay, and the interviewees were asked to read and comment on the case study protocols as well as our findings. Why? Because this way we had their view apart we had the chance to certify that we were not very far away from what we are expecting from them. What about Empatica? So Empatica is a spin-off, Massachusetts Institute of Technology spin-off based in Milano and in Boston, and it was founded 10 years ago. It's focused on the development, production, and utilization of medical wearables, and they are implementing artificial intelligence and sensor-based platforms for monitoring and detecting different diseases. It's a full stack company, building everything in-house. They build themselves everything. And their platform uses a combination of biosensors to detect unique components of human physiology, and they use, for that purpose, artificial intelligence based on algorithm. Their most well-known products are the CE market E4 and Embrace 2 smart watches, and they are now just launching new devices like the Embrace Plus, which is it could be considered as a very important launching. Yeah. So we see that Empatica is a crucial actor in an innovation ecosystem, and that Embrace 2 device and platform has been the world's first smartwatch to be cleared in neurology. For what purpose? For sensory monitoring, detection, and alerting. Empatica partners with a wide range of pharma companies and health institutions, and their platform for research, joined with their algorithm development capabilities, are leading the future of digital outcomes. So these projects can be seen everywhere. For example, they are working with NASA, they are working with the United States Department of Health and Human Services, with Columbia University, and quite important institutions. So we feel that this case, it's a really sound one.
All right, thank you very much, Unai. And now I would like to invite Francesco to talk about preliminary findings, and then we can proceed with Q&A. Francesco, are you ready to take the floor?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Tanya, and thanks to everybody. Well, as you said, this is a draft paper that we are improving, and for the moment we can just talk about preliminary findings, raw findings that are emerging from our data analysis. Well, first of all, the first point that emerged from the case is that artificial intelligence is impacting on the different agents of the healthcare ecosystem that are in contact or that collaborate or even compete somehow with Empatica. So coming back to our question, our analysis shows that at the end, this new technology and the availability and exploitation of data that are collected and analyzed by artificial intelligence has a huge impact on the innovation ecosystem, on our innovation ecosystem. Moreover, as we will see in few minutes, we can also let's say the impact will be even broader in our opinion. Indeed, thanks to artificial intelligence, we have basically a new organizational scheme, a new way of orchestrating the business and the business relationships within the ecosystem. Also, thanks to the fact that new actors are emerging and are becoming crucial into the Empatica ecosystem. And we have to say that something that is for the healthcare industry has been, let's say, always very, let's say, very typical. But now with the richness and the possibility to analyze and use data, think about, for instance, the patient data that we can collect and analyze to understand the patient habits, and if he's following properly, if he's adherent to the therapy, we can, of course, let's say, give a new role, give new power to these actors. And of course, this impacts also on the relationship between the company and these other actors of the ecosystem. And this point is also connected to the third bullet point, that there are different agents from different fields, like tech companies, digital titans, digital brokers, and so on, that are reshaping the entire ecosystem of this startup. If you can go ahead, thank you. So basically, something else that is also very relevant, that is emerging from our analysis, is the fact that basically, thanks to artificial intelligence, there is a maximization of the value of the different expertises of the players of the ecosystems, even professionals, the doctors, let's say, can maximize the impact of their knowledge. In other words, just to be concise, just to be short, thanks to artificial intelligence, in business ecosystems, we have new knowledge sharing and knowledge creation activities that contribute to establish new collaboration relationships that between the ecosystem players, and that of course will impact also on the new competitive dynamics that may start up within the ecosystem. Before we mentioned about the rise of new tech giants into the industry that are new entrants for healthcare. Well, that's an example of how a company within such an ecosystem must be smart, must be clever in let's say orchestrating these collaborative and competitive relationships that may start up with the other players of the ecosystem. If you can skip it. Yes, thank you. And at the end, therefore, we have currently these, we have developed this free theoretical framework, which is inductive, so comes from the data that we analyzed from, we collected and analyzed from the interviews. And basically it suggests that we have, for this industry, an orchestra model that is based on 4 different levels: micro, meso, macro, and mega level, that the company must manage, must orchestrate in order to create value and innovate. Of course, the specific point of this model, of course, in our opinion, is that we don't have just industrial marketing, let's say business to business relationships into the model, but we have also let's say relationships, collaborations, or anyway interaction between agents that belong to different categories. For instance, in the case of Empatica, it's extremely important to collaborate with government agency or health funding bodies. And artificial intelligence is crucial in order to govern and to orchestrate these relationships at this level, but also at the other levels, because basically it provides data that can be the, let's say, the oiled source, not only for value creation, but also for innovation for all these players. Okay, so business ecosystems, the business ecosystem that is designed and orchestrated by Empatica is not just it's a, let's call it like an hybrid business ecosystem, because let's say it is made out, it is composed by all the by a larger variety of actors that collaborate, that interact at different levels. If you can go ahead, Tatiana. Thanks. So basically, in this study, and basically here comes also the the support that we are asking to you, we are trying to highlight much more, much better, which can be the B2B marketing strategies, but also tactics that companies that are in the middle of such business ecosystems have to consider in order to create value, but also to create participation, empowerment, to create involvement by other actors that somehow contribute to the exploitation of artificial intelligence, but don't have a real profit orientation or profit goals. So basically, now we are in our research at this stage, try to expand for the B2B context this framework, inductive framework that I introduce it to you. For instance, let's think about the health professional. They are let's say like doctors. They only now they are starting to have a role in the for the exploitation of artificial intelligence in this industry. However, they are not just decision makers, so they have to decide or if the decision suggested by the technology is good and must be accepted or not. They can have even new and more important roles in supporting, for instance, the data collection and data transfers from patients to the company that will take this data and analyze and provide say information, medical information, clinical information. So just conclude. Basically, we found, of course, that artificial intelligence is crucial for business ecosystem and for managing all these new revised relationships between the agents that the different types of agents that collaborate to the business ecosystem. And therefore, we are now figuring out which can be the key managerial implications that can emerge from these raw evidences that we briefly presented to you today, this morning. Thank you so much for your attention, and of course, we will be happy to answer to your questions.
Thank you greatly, Francesco, Tatiana, Unai, for this presentation. Now we open the Q&A. I have a question just to start, and I address more a part that Francesco highlighted in his presentation. And it's also my curiosity in terms of research. From your study, how do you see, if you see this, that the AI changes also the relationship among the actors in the network? It's not a network, it is an ecosystem. So in which way you think it can be impact, or how we can demonstrate, because I fully agree with this statement, that the relationship are changed. So you consider the healthcare industry, it can be considered other industries where there are traditional players working in this ecosystem. In which way AI disrupts or brings value or changes the network, the relationship?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, well, I do believe that artificial intelligence can implies, let's say, a more participative, an opener way of organizing and analyzing data, in the sense that, and so for all the innovation process. let me explain. If we do believe that if we want to use artificial intelligence to or machine learning even to analyze some data, we need, of course, to add a new layer or even more layers of, let's say, more technological competencies, sorry, that must be, let's say, used for the exploitation of such data. For instance, I'm thinking about the perspective of a company who wants to start up artificial intelligence. Well, they will have to develop or to hire someone with machine learning competencies into the company, or they will ask for support. They will ask to the patient, to the doctors, to inform the patients that they will need the wearable in order to monitor and track their data and their habits. Of course, I'm talking about the healthcare industry, which is the one that I know better, but I do believe that the same logic applies to basically everywhere. So in my opinion, the fact that in theory artificial intelligence requires a deeper, a stronger data analysis than data collection, well, this changes even the way in which the requests, the requirements that all the agents of the ecosystem needs to satisfy in order to implement artificial intelligence. Even the introduction of a new technology, I do believe, is crucial for even to start up new competitive dynamics. Let's think about a tech giant entering into a new industry, into a mature industry, and providing artificial intelligence services and solutions. For instance, for I don't know, for monitoring the logistics of food products. Let's say that's an example. Of course, since this technology is so much likely to provide a competitive advantage to the organization using it. Of course, also the competitors will have to consider this technological introduction, and therefore they will have to start up new business relationship and reframe, in some cases, their existing business relationship in order to make artificial intelligence useful and effective for their business. I hope that I answered to your question.
Thank you, Francesco. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Salma.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I have a question related to data protection, because you mentioned that there are new agents from different fields in the healthcare ecosystem. So which means that the risks related to the patient's data could be higher. Did you notice, or were you able to identify in your study any practices implemented to ensure an ethical use of patients' data?
Is the question to me or
to everyone? Just to
everyone. Well, as far as I know, we didn't find any. Let's say that an ethical use of data was not our main goal. Let's say was not the goal of our study. But no, for as far as I know, we did not find any of this case. Of course, that's a big issue because you know, when we talk now, for instance, in these days, everywhere in Europe, but especially in Italy, I have to say, maybe Margherita is aware of that. There was a huge debate about the health data, the public, the possibility to use the data about our vaccination for the Green Pass to travel in freedom. And the Italian Corte Costituzionale, I guess, so the maximum court in Italy, said that surprisingly that it was a huge violation of the privacy, even if there was a real important matter on the that was necessary to solve with such data. So let's say that's always a very delicate and tricky dimension to consider in healthcare. But coming back to our research, no, we did not find any kind of these issues.
Okay. I see a question in the chat coming from Zelun. Yes, the question is it possible that AI in the next maybe 5-10 years not only influence but also reshape the ecosystem of the industry? If yes, how it will become? Margareta would like to answer this question.
Yeah, it's your role based on the paper that you presented. Tatiana, please, or Francesco, Unai, in your perception.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, it's related to your paper.
Yeah,
Okay.
question for us. So will the industry not only reshape, but not only influence, but reshape the whole ecosystem within 5-10 years? Yes, how will it happen?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I have to connect to the power my computer, and I will answer. Okay, sorry, I'm back. So just to come back to the question, well, actually, yes, I do believe, of course, that artificial intelligence will reshape, however, the industries. All the industries, but in particular this one. However, in this case, in the case of healthcare, I mean, in my opinion, there is always one, let's call it limit, but on my side, it's even an opportunity, you know. And the fact that the decision making on the referring to the clinical therapy, to the patient journey, the final decision will probably, at least for the moment, that's the approach, will be always taken by the doctors. And therefore, that's something that somehow limits the impact of artificial intelligence. So, for instance, the doctors, there are several cases around the world of hospitals that are able to provide to their medical doctors some reports with data and some suggestion for the therapy to assign to a patient. But of course, the last decision is to the doctor, and he will decide what is the best for his patient. And in my opinion, I have to say, I do agree with that position. However, if we don't have to forget that healthcare is not only the care, the point of care, is not only about care. It's also about a huge amount of logistics activities, or even, for instance, many of you study marketing. So the pricing, for instance, I do believe could be a domain that can be affected extremely by artificial intelligence, or anyway by digital technology. Pricing and reimbursement in industries in Italy, for instance, but everywhere we have a public-based healthcare. Public healthcare, there is always a negotiation process of the price of the drugs or the medical device. Well, maybe to have an accountability, a real-time accountability about the outcomes of some specific drugs, and to understand how much they are really effective for the patients within one region, within one country, might be something very, very important for even to decide when the agency for the drug, national agency for the drug, about drugs in Italy, we call it AIFA, the FDA in the United States, for instance, when they sit at the table to negotiate the price of a new drug with AstraZeneca or Novartis, to have this type of reports of detailed information might be a huge plus in the negotiation. Therefore, that's one example, but I do believe it will be more and more common in the future.
Thanks, Francesco. I think I don't know, Zelun, it's okay. Please write in the Q&A if the answer addressed your issue. We have other question coming, so let's do Remy Pifou. How can data collected thanks to AI can be shared to improve the health ecosystem as a whole, taking into account that there are privacy issues due to this sensitive data, and companies have the willingness to keep their competitive advantage thanks to this data? I think this is related to what, Francesco, you were mentioning before, and a very interesting question.
Yes, let me read it. How can data collected? Well, of course, there are huge privacy issues. I mean, so, well, I don't have, of course, the solution for that. Otherwise, I would be a millionaire. But anyway, let's say, my pleasure, Zelun. Anyway, I would say that I do believe that, in my opinion, this kind of I don't say a national, but probably an European committee, an European board should try to find some guidelines that then should be applied in all the countries, more or less. Because, of course, the case that I just mentioned a few days ago about what happened in Italy, it's it must be, let's say, it's useful to understand how much is complex to you know, to take a decision when we deal with the health data and privacy. What is the most important thing? To protect the health of the people, or to protect the privacy of one person? So that's definitely a tricky question, and I do believe that probably maybe at European level some guidelines specific should be developed somehow. Of course, companies can find, in my opinion, some kind of let's say, business opportunity in the privacy, in this let's say, in this niche of activity. Maybe, for instance, I do believe, for instance, that the possibility to provide maybe some kind of let's say, services for making secure the data that are stored somewhere in a database in Italy or in France or in Germany, wherever, that might be a first, let's say, type of business that can be expanded, since I mean, there is so much attention to privacy and how this data can be used if they are in the good hands, but also if they finish in the bad hands. Maybe to think about that might be cybersecurity might be a first example of business opportunities that can be related to this. But I'm sure that many more, just thinking about, many more could come up to our minds. Then we have the question by Rupesh Kumar. Yes, in your findings so far, have you come across AI becoming a major player in any specialty field, or would it most to B2B when it comes? Well, no, I don't think. Actually, for me, the medical ecosystem is just a research setting. I mean, it's interesting, it's fascinating, because there are more levels of interaction. It's more diversified, more heterogeneous. Yes, it is, because we have the role of public authorities, national agencies. We have the active role of consumers, of customers. In Italy, for instance, but everywhere in the world, actually, the associations of patients have a huge power in setting the agenda and defining the standards of the basic services, for instance. So, in my opinion, it's a very interesting research domain, but I mean, the impact of artificial intelligence more or less can be, I think, can be generalizable even in our industries that are more, let's say, closer to the tradition of B2B theory. And then we have Anna. Isn't already effective that healthcare, and moreover healthcare academic researches are reshaped by major actors, or what is called usually big tech giants, among others, and perhaps it's the time that to see that it's an evolutive necessity instead of threat. Well, yes, probably. You know what? I understood that. Yes, now I think that in these last 15, 20 years, we had like basically like in every industries, but probably in that's particularly true in healthcare. We had such strong, intensive introduction of tech companies, big tech companies, for into the business, and of course they reshaped the competitive environment. But they also reshaped the practices. Think about the fact that now, as patients, we need to wear the wearable to transmit our data to the doctor, for instance. Okay, or even when, for instance, we think about the new medical devices. Think about the device for, I don't know the English name, sorry, for monitoring the blood in your monitoring the sugar in your blood. Now with the digital devices, we can find devices that store your data, and they can also transmit the data to the server in some cases if it is very sophisticated. So we see that even the practice that are typical are changing thanks to the introduction of such strong tech giants. Many pharmaceutical companies that were always been key players, of course, in healthcare, very often collaborate with tech companies for provide, for instance, software that can be used by some patients or caregivers. So there is, of course, a huge, I agree with you that this is a sort of evolution and necessity that, of course, is not a, in my opinion, it's just a source of disruption, of chaos, but it brings also many opportunities for incumbent and new entrants. That's a bit my view. I hope that, Anne, that I answered properly to your question. I satisfied you.
Yes, thanks, Francesco. Maybe I leave Anne Tramou to react on the chat. Perfect.
My pleasure.
It's fine. Great. So I don't see other question in the chat. Which is your next step for this paper? So where are you planning to submit it? If you can say.
To me or Tatiana?
To me? Well, we are, this is not a secret, right? So we have submitted it to Industrial Marketing Management Journal in January.
Management, so in the management field, in industrial marketing field.
Yeah,
okay, great.
Management. And the first review came to us in May. And it was rather critical, and we have to rework the paper and submit the second revision in September.
Great. So good luck for this second. No, it was very important, and thanks also for the input and the feedback provided by the participants, because this could help also to have a different point of view.
Thanks. Margherita, of course, if anyone is interested also in explore more this topic, we will be pleased to collaborate, to have a talk, a chat in the future.
Definitely, thank you greatly. So as we have this time, it is until 1 or 1:30 based on the discussion section. I don't see other comments, and I take the occasion to thank all the participants for it's very important to have the feedback participation by the different university, because I see several people from different universities, just not EMLYON, but also other school or a practitioner that maybe are interested in going more in depth in this context. Thanks, Tatiana, Unai, and Francesco, for your presentation today, for also sharing this important topic. And so let's meet to the next seminar. At this point, it could be next year.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.